Hello and welcome back to Bastogne in Belgium, the Belgian Grand Prix round 15 of the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. 18 degrees outside, it's been cloudy, overcast, windy all day. We did have rain around about 12:30, but nothing like what was expected, although what were we expecting? Adam Wheeler from OnTrackOffroad.com joins me. You know, it's been a fairly decent Grand Prix at the moment, an exciting MX1, but MX2, we have the possibility of somebody winning their first ever career victory here this weekend, because no Jeffrey Hurlings, of course, dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. There's a lot of people here, so you know, it's a Belgian GP, so there's a good atmosphere, good support for the riders that are inside the gate. Jeffrey Hurlings not being one of them, of course. So, like you say, a first-time winner in MX2 this weekend. Second year in Bastogne. It's a little bit of a different track for the people out there, and I'm surprised you said it was 18 degrees because it doesn't feel like it outside.
No, it's very, very breezy, but obviously a little bit humid somewhere in the line. But Dean Ferris, Monster Energy Yamaha, was a winner from Jordi Tixier, Christophe Charlier, Maxime Dupre and Romain Febvre, and I guess any one of those five guys puts themselves in the driving seat in race 2, they could be walking away with their first GP victory.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even someone like Jose Butron, maybe thinking too much about a first victory. I saw him last night and he was pretty much, oh, and what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You can see he was visually nervous about the possibility that, you know, Jeffrey Hurlings is left by, you know, departing last night. So, you know, there is it's open. It's completely open.
Well, the MX2 guys are making their way down to the line, lining up already, so it will be interesting. A moment ago, though, they did have their sighting lap, and they were led out by Dean Ferris. Dean Ferris won the qualifying race yesterday, took his second pole of the season ahead of Jose Butron, who had his best qualifying of the year, despite winning a race win earlier in the season in Brazil with Dylan Ferrandis, who had a problem in Moto number 1. He was third for the second time this year, but Adam Wheeler, do you know what happened to Dylan Ferrandis? It sounded like an exhaust problem, something like that.
I don't know exactly, Paul, but like you say, I mean, trackside you could hear something had gone, whether it was on the silencer or it sort of ripped a hole in it somewhere, but it didn't, you know, there was no power on it, wasn't jumping or anything, so he just pulled in.
And this is how they will line up, yeah.
Yeah. Who's your tip, Paul? I mean, I'll put you on the spot here just before they launch off. 45 seconds to go. Who's gonna win this GP?
Well, Maxime Dupre obviously got a good start in the first race, but I just thought we saw his inexperience, maybe lack of fitness creeping in towards the end. I think Dean Ferris has a very real possibility. Jordi Tixier and Christophe Charlier, they're going to be my main three.
I'd like to see Ferris do it. I really would like to see him.
It'd be great if Dean Ferris could do it.
A lot of French riders in the top, so it'd be nice to see an Aussie victory. First time since 2001. So.
And that would be Andrew.
No, 2005, of course, yeah. Andrew McFarlane and Chad Reed, so, yep. And it has Jeffrey Hurlings there in the start list, and he's not here, so let's see Yamaha or KTM whole shot.
Well, the starts have been coming from the middle of the gate. Let's see if that happens in Moto number 2. The gate is about to drop here, 59. Alexander Tonkov gets a good jump as well, but at the inside, is it going to be Ferris again? But Glenn Koldenoff around the outside, Butron up the inside, and Ferris, he's going to come out and drag race himself down there, but it's a standing construct. KTM of Glenn Koldenoff leaves the door wide open for Ferris to go through. They've put a lot of water down, they've done some work on the track as well, so it's going to be a very sketchy first lap for these guys, because completely different racetrack to what we had earlier, which was very dry and loose. They were expecting the heavy rain, of course that never came, and now they've artificially watered the track, so there's going to be some slick patches out there. So Ferris is going to be the first guy to approach everything, and almost a problem there, as you see Nichols or Febvre down the inside of the Kawasaki of
that's Jason Claremont. Yep. So no Ferrandis, but it's finally a good start for Koldenoff. We haven't really seen him at the front at all through the weekend.
Yeah, and he obviously, you know, he needs to get a good result now, because obviously he was third at one time in the championship. He's dropped down to 5th, too far off the pace, I think, to go after Charlier and Butron, definitely. But I think just for, it's not a home Grand Prix for him, but obviously Netherlands just up the road, there'll be a lot of Dutch contingent here. It'll just be good for him just to get back into that winning frame of mind, or, you know, podium set, if you know what I mean.
I think that's Christophe Charlier on the fracture Yamaha in 4th, boy. If that's so, then keep an eye on that little battle there, because Jose Butron, and who's in 3rd at the moment, and also Charlier, they're dicing for 3rd position in the championship. So that's like
down to 25 points going into this race with 2.5 rounds to go. So yeah, good shout.
I know Charlier is really mindful of where Boutron is in the pack, so that might have even affected a little bit his approach in the first race.
He also, especially after the opening lap first moto last 2 weeks ago in Czech Republic, when Charlier steamed up the inside of him with a little hairpin right, where Tommy Searle and Sean Simpson had their thing. The two connected. Boutron went down, damaged the front brake in the collision. Obviously couldn't pick up points. So Charlier gave himself a bit of breathing space in that little battle for third place, or closed in on the gap.
Yeah,
over the line.
Yeah, and Boutron's not going to forget that as well, isn't he? So maybe Charlier has to be a little bit mindful in these early laps and just try and work out where Boutron's weaker and then attack him. But Dean Ferris is doing what he needs to do. Had some goggle trouble in the first moto, but he'll know that Coldenhoff won't be able to threaten that overall win if he can just stay in front of them. I mean, he has to keep an eye on Tixier really, and Tixier, down in 11th place after that first lap.
When you mentioned goggle trouble from Dean Ferris, that's not anything to do with the goggles breaking at all. It was just that he was right on the rear wheel of Maxime Dupre for the whole motor, was getting roosted, ran out of laminates, and when the rain started to come down, he had even less visibility. So as soon as he found his way through, pulled them off, landed over, I think it was coming out of turn 12, just on the approach back up to the big step up prior to the finish. Took the goggles off as soon as he was in the lead, just to give himself maximum visibility, which he'd been struggling with. So it was a good shout for him. It put him in the driving seat, and Tixier just ran out of time. As you say, Tixier down in 11th. So end of one lap. Ferris, Coldenhoff, Boutron, they first three, and this is about the third place. Number 17, Boutron on the Silver Action KTM and the blue Yamaha. Number 23 of Christophe Charlier. Roman Febvre is in 5th place. Jake Nichols 6th. Jason Clermont is 7th. Alex Tonkoff, Max Dupre, and Dylan Ferrandis round out the top 10, with Jordi Tixier, Alex Lupino, who had, I guess, a mechanical problem in moto number 1, because there were no signs of him going down the track, and that bike was being pushed off. Although I might be wrong.
Hole in the radiator.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Maybe a rock. Pretty rocky out there.
Yeah. It's like you say, I mean, that was the risk with Ferris dumping his goggles in the first moto. It's, you only have to ask someone like Joel Rowlands, who got a rock in the eye, I think it was in Sweden, that, put him out of the Grand Prix.
Look at those guys going down at the back.
Who was that at the back? We got a listing here. Just a view from Petr Petrov on that Kimea Raytec Yamaha.
Geister, Toombs, Lenoir.
Oh, gotcha. It's a real shame for him. I think it was a...
Kulas.
Guys, I think set a personal best, didn't he, in the first moto, 6th position?
Even before they got to the first turn, look.
Yeah. Is that Pocock as well on the Yamaha at the back, or is that just
that looks like Pocock. And Pocock, who was well placed in 5th in the first moto before he made a mistake, and obviously finished way down the order. In fact, did he finish? No, he didn't finish the first race.
Yeah, he had a pretty big tumble. I think he came in, wasn't feeling too great. Oh, the bike was all bent up as well. That was another thing. So
we did see him come down into pit lane actually a few laps after he'd crashed. But on board here with Petrov, and Petrov,
top 15.
Yeah, 14th at the moment, going after Pascal Rauschneck, who jumped very, very close to the left-hand side of the track over the Radson triple jump. But up front, Christophe Charlier still trying to figure out the problem that is Jose Boutron just ahead of him. Still very slick out on track at the moment, but Ferris set the fastest lap of the race, currently 2 seconds clear of Coldenhoff. A nervous look over the shoulder a moment ago from Christophe Charlier as the hard-charging former European champion in the 250 class. Roman Febvre looking to move and muscle his way up the inside. Risky business going down there into turn 9.
Yeah, 2 European champions there. Charlier was
2009.
Yeah. And then Boutron also was in the European Championship. He was another product of the Garibaldi team at that level.
I'm not sure if you had a chance to walk around the circuit yesterday, Adam Wheeler, but that right-hander turn 10, very interesting yesterday before they bulldozed it and put that artificial line in there, took out all the ruts. Had everything, didn't it? Ruts, high speed, rocks, bumps, everything that the riders just hate. But it was one of those things where you could lose or gain so much time. But now it's just one berm around the outside and it doesn't tighten up and rut up until the very, very end. So Charlier,
you're saying it's one thing riders hate for. I think there's something they must love as well. Anything that can make the difference, as Tony Carrera likes to say, is something they appreciate.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to watch this little battle. I mean, Boutron didn't have a good ride in the first moto. Charlier had a very conservative ride. There's more to this dice than there is, what there is on the track. And I don't like the way Charlier's looking behind him a lot. I just wonder if he's a little bit, not so comfortable at the moment, or just a little bit rattled by the fact that Febvre really wants to demote him.
Well, he's sandwiched between 2 KTMs. That's not the issue, but the issue is he wants to go by Boutron, but he doesn't want to go wide, leave himself wide open if he wants to square off a turn and leave it all open for Febvre to come charging down the inside. But he goes inside here. He was fast around the outside there in Moto number 1. Guys like Ferrandis were going up the inside, and he was coming around the outside and making time. I think he passed Tonkov there in that race 1, Charlie 8. But obviously favouring the inside line at the moment, but having another look at the inside. Very, very slippery part of the racetrack here. Hard, loose rocks underneath the surface. And the guys at... I walked the track here on Thursday when I arrived, and that's an almost naturally bold turn there. So you're coming in carrying more speed because you think you've got something to get into, but blink of an eye, you could lose the front end and go down.
But also, what you probably don't really see so much on the screen is around here that the dirt is super fine. It's almost like kind of a silt, sort of concrete dust, and that's what made it so kind of perilous yesterday, because big plumes were coming up. The track wasn't watered so much, again, because the organisation were expecting rain today, and it's, you can see it here on the TV. Like you say, you've got sections where it is rough and rutty, and you have to pick a line, and other ones where it's almost sandy.
Yeah. And that turn 4 where you go in, the split section coming out over the waves, was that corner yesterday where it was very silty, very thin, powdery, and riders just going in, losing the front, losing the back, couldn't get the power down, and then suddenly it would grip because it had gone through all that loose stuff. But Jose Butron is still in third place as Dean Ferris sets another fastest lap of the race, and he's currently 3.3 seconds clear of Glenn Coldenhoff.
Oh, he goes Febvre on the inside, yep.
And nervous Charlier gives him room as well, takes another nervous look over his shoulder.
Has he got a problem? I don't know, maybe something just working the goggles there, maybe not seeing so well.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised, if it's one of those situations. You put Jeffrey Hurlings in the race, everyone else is fighting for second, as it's been this year. Charlier won a first race in Sweden, but didn't get the overall. He tied on points as Hurlings came good in the second moto, but everyone knows what's at stake going into this race. And Dean Ferris, a bit of experience riding in Australia, leading championships, winning races out there, and obviously not winning one because of injury, but I think he's probably the best placed rider to deal with this kind of pressure at the moment. And Charlier may be just thinking like Butron was yesterday, the prospect of winning the Grand Prix, suddenly going out there in the second race, getting a good start, wow, the realisation is just overwhelming.
Yeah. The other thing is that Charlie's been talking all season long about finishing top 3 in the championship. That was his goal, and he's been so close to it. 25 points, like you say, the difference. And he gained, I think, he was 3rd in the first moto and took, Butron was 7th. So if he continues to lose a bit of ground here, then now that hard work from the first race is just going to be kind of erased. But, you looked down a moment ago going past the pits. I just wondered if he was looking at his rear brake or something like that, because he's not sort of really attacking. He's more, kind of static, and then Jake Nichols is just behind.
I'm impressed with Nichols' teammate Roman Febvre though, 461. He's the guy that's passed a few guys in the last few laps, and obviously going after Butron now for 3rd. And let's not forget, in Moto number 1, where did he finish? 5th in the first race. So he's got it all going on here as Roman Febvre. Good podium prospect for him.
Yeah, was he? Did you say 5th in first?
Yeah,
race? Yeah,
5th in Moto number 1 behind Ferris, Tixier, Charlier, and Dupre, who is nowhere to be seen, 11th at the moment.
Just behind Tixier, who's just going to struggle to make the top 3 overall.
And again, Jordi Tixier, the only Red Bull KTM rider, obviously he struggled in the first race because I think he must have had a rock go through the goggles and just lift the lens away from the actual frame. Dirt was going in, so he was struggling with dirt in the goggles throughout the moto, which is then dirt in the eyes. But he managed to sort himself out for the last race, but just ran out of time for the race win. But Ferris, though, he leads by 5 seconds after 4 laps. Roman Febvre looking for a way around the outside of Jose Butron, chasing the dirt as he goes for traction. It might work out for him as well on the World Understar GM Racing KTM. Not sure if Butron knows as he jumps across whether it's the KTM of Febvre or the Yamaha of Charlier. I guess at the first opportunity he will take a look over his shoulder, but it's not something we normally see from Butron anyway, is it? He normally deals with it head on and just keeps his focus forward, Adam Wheeler.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. Look at this big section they come around the back of the circuit here. Jeremy Van Horbeke in the first MX1 motor had a lovely line on the outside past Kevin Strybos. I don't know if Febvre's going to try it. Butron's already railing that kind of section there. But coming down and then into the inside here, where this is where Hurlings crashed yesterday, and maybe dislocated his shoulder or just put a pretty big hematoma on it. We're not sure yet. But yeah, I don't know if it's been scrubbed clean actually. It was a bit of a shame because there was a lovely line there to bring a rider. If you had the momentum, you just came around on the inside.
Yeah, there were a lot of ruts there. That was the problem with Hurlings. He tried to out-jump Ferris, but Ferris had the cleaner line that was, a couple of handlebar widths wide going into the left-hander where the first line was. But after that, 4, 5, 6 lines, deep ruts, landed in the braking bumps, caught the ruts, and then went down and landed on that shoulder. So interesting parts of the racetrack just destroyed, by a blade. But this is going to be a very interesting battle for third for the next 23 minutes or so. Jose Boutron continues to occupy that third place on the Silver Action KTM, but the hard-charging 461 World Owner Star and JM Racing KTM, the Flying Frenchman, Romain Febvre, just there. Is closing down, but just not got close enough to do anything about Boutron, who, as a result of him closing up, Romain Febvre seems to have responded and looks to be going after Glenn Coldenhoff. Maybe Boutron just happy with circuit conditions coming a little bit drier and able to gain in confidence a little bit. Adam Wheeler from OnTrackOffroad.com. What do you think to that?
Yeah, like you said, Paul, Boutron's really on the pipe. He's just set his fastest lap of the race. So, the distance to second position closing down all the time, while Dean Ferris leading this Grand Prix overall as well, stretching his advantage. Now 5 seconds ahead, well, nearly 6.
Yeah.
So there he is, the Australian. He's got 2 or 3 podiums. I think it's 3 podiums this season.
Yeah.
He took his first career moto victory in the first race. So he's on, if he stays on 2 wheels, then he's going to be heading for a pretty memorable day here in Belgium.
Yeah, podium at the first round in Qatar with second. Hasn't been higher than that, of course. Portugal and Finland, second again. But this weekend, though, you can't take anything away from him. You've still got to be in it to win it. Of course, there's going to be people say, first Grand Prix victory came because, or you ended Hurling's win streak because. But the rest of the field out there, you can't take anything away from him. And, other people have won Grand Prix and races in similar situations, and no one said anything about that. He's worked hard for this, as Dean Ferris.
Of course, he's beaten everywhere else out on the track. You can't ask any more. That's the definition of a Grand Prix winner, isn't it?
Exactly, and look at the gap that he's got, 6.5 seconds now.
I mean, we were talking earlier a little bit about the championship picture between Jose Boutron, currently in 3rd position, and Christophe Charlier now in 5th. We should also bear in mind that in a matter of days we go to the penultimate Grand Prix of the season with the British Grand Prix at Matterley Basin, and Dean Ferris is riding for the British Monster Energy Yamaha Steve Dixon led team. We're also going to have a situation where someone like Jake Nichols, who's currently running 6th, could even push for a podium or a victory in front of his home crowd. So there's kind of permutations really to this second moto form, and what could really happen in the next sort of 6-7 days in the build up to probably one of the most popular events on the calendar.
But just looking at the overall classification at the moment, Ferris obviously would potentially pick up the overall with 2 race wins. Charlier would take second. Coldenhoff would be back on the podium on 35 points, but Boutron just 1 point behind him, so I'm sure Boutron will be getting the board to say close down on Coldenhoff.
Charlier
down, losing the front end. So that's going to be Charlier losing potentially second overall in the Grand Prix, because that's going to give points to Dylan Ferrandis and Tonkov. That's going to take points away crucially from Charlier, so that's going to put Coldenhoff into second, maybe Boutron into third now. So really at a crucial point in the race now with 20 minutes to go, plus those 2 laps. But Charlier was looking nervous anyway, wasn't he? Even when he was in that 3rd place early on, or 4th, wherever he was, he was just looking back, nervous between the 2 KTMs of Febvre and Boutron. Maybe he'll just settle down and relax now. This is that corner I was on about.
Yeah, the front end is sliding out. Back. Yeah, there's just no burn there, was there?
No.
Just couldn't rely on anything.
Quick reaction there from Jake Nichols.
He kept it running, so he's still in it, but
it's not going to be easy to go by this guy who was fast in the first round. Tonkov down. That's what I'm talking about. Just greasy surface. It's a little bit watered, and he keeps it going as well. Does the Ester Motorsports guy just in the final turn. So Tonkov comes over the line now in 9th and 10th place. So in the space of half a lap, Charlier going out and losing positions, dropping down to 7th, and Alexander Tonkov losing a couple of places, dropping down to 10th. So with just over 19 plus 2 to go, Ferris now 7 seconds clear of Glenn Coldenhoff. 3rd is Boutron. Roman Febvre is 4th, Jake Nichols 5th, and Ferrandis, Charlier, Tixier, Dupre and Tonkov. And he was lucky there with the right leg. Look, just got it caught, couldn't get it out from underneath the handlebar. I've known people do knee ligaments from similar crashes like that, but fortunately for him, was able just to pick himself up and rejoin the race.
And Tonkov is a rider that's developing and really coming along, but just small injury problems have just interrupted his season. So it's
on the move as well next year.
Yeah, on Factory Husqvarna. I think there was a press release about it earlier this week.
Yeah.
So Charlier, this defender, is that Tixier just behind him? Tixier and then Despres. Despres' best finish of the season, his first term in Grand Prix racing. I think many people kind of expected to do another European Championship, but he's due a result really. Top 10 runner.
Yeah, and again, it might just be down to the psychology of Herlings not being there. Opens it up for everybody else. Jordi Tixier, Red Bull KTM 911 in orange. Trying to close down Christophe Charlier as he looks to at least try to get on the podium here, but a bad start in his second MX2 race. Adam Wheeler has left him fighting for positions here on a circuit that in the second moto, after being heavily watered, seems to have caught a few riders out with the odd slick patch appearing here and there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different prospect, isn't it, Paul? The rain that we expected hasn't really arrived. There's been a couple of light showers out there, but nothing really to change the track that drastically, which I think the riders were hoping for. There's a couple of 2-lane kind of corners being formed. It's just not that easy to pass, and it's kind of very narrow in terms of finding the best traction.
Well, you could chase the dirt around the outside like Maxime Dupre,
but that's not going to get you any kind of meters, is it? Really?
Shortest route is 9 times out of the 10 the quickest route around a turn, but you can see how the dry line's appearing, and the inside here through turn 2 is staying dark and wet. No one really taking that chance. That could change for MX1 race 2, of course, as Dupre goes long, buries it in the turn 3. Charlier coming under attack now from Jordi Tixier.
Ferrandis is currently the fastest rider of this crop, this kind of second group outside the leading bunch, so he's just ahead of this battle we're watching with Christophe Charlier. So how far will he move up?
Well, he's in 6th at the moment, but he's 3 seconds down on Jake Nichols, 53.5 compared to the 55.1 Ferrandis and Nichols. So as you say, Adam Wheeler just on the gas, on the charge, could be reeling in Nichols and taking over 5th in the next couple of laps if Jake isn't careful. Again, looking over his shoulder, Christophe Charlier, just a little bit nervous.
We kind of sat down here today thinking we could get any kind of eventuality or dilemma or situation in MX2 with Jeffrey Herlings out of the running pool, but Dean Ferris has pretty much done a Herlings, hasn't he?
Yeah. Got a good start.
Yep, Febvre.
Tear off just flapping away in the wind there, just tried to have a second go on it.
And I think these two are running on the same point, so if Febvre passes Boutron for 3rd place,
he's going to have another grab here, you watch.
Yeah, that could even
just
be
flapping. I think what's happened, they're all on the little stem on the lens, all the laminates. I think he's probably had a rock and lifted about 4 of them off, or whatever's left on there, so he needs just to sort of grab everything and just pull them off, and then he's going to be in the situation that Dean Ferris was in race 1, just a lens and no laminates, no roll-offs or anything. So look, see it flapping on the side of the helmet.
Yeah. And just to put this little battle into perspective, if Febvre passes Boutron, he makes the podium. He's just 1 point away at the moment. It depends a little bit on what Tixier does further down the order, but if Febvre can make the pass, and you'd assume that his team are telling him on the pit board, he'll pass Boutron, move into 3rd place, and that will be his first podium maybe since Thailand.
Yep, 2nd overall in Thailand, so 3rd actually, Roman Febvre. He only ran in Qatar, so it's just that he's been a little bit off since then. He missed a few rounds because of injury and
broken leg.
Yeah. In the last sort of 6-7 GPs, a 5th overall in Latvia has been his best. Other than that, he's been outside the top 10. So this will be a big confidence boost for Roman Febvre, even if he finishes 4th here and just misses the podium. But I'm sure he'd love to be on the podium. The pit boards will be giving him all the information. Just looking out the window, and you're probably not. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. It is looking a little bit darker again outside on track. The wind's still there, but I'm just wondering whether we are due a shower at some point here in the afternoon that might just make MX1 a little bit more exciting. Who knows? Worry about that when it happens. Tixier, no goggles, look.
Yeah, a little bit risky. 15 minutes, 2 laps to go.
Especially sitting behind Charlier the way that he is.
And Desprez just keeping there. I mean, the kid's a talent on a bike wheel. You can't question that. I think he struggled this year in going the full race distances, the 35 plus 2. Ooh, just getting a bit wide out of that jump. But you know, I don't know what he's going to be doing next year. He's still got some years left in MX2, of course, before he reaches 23 years and has to push up like Jake Nichols and also Dean Ferris, the race leader at the moment. But you know, Desprez has plenty of potential there.
Yeah, in that respect, you know, when you look at Ferris going to MX1 next year, because he has to, he's aged out, isn't he?
Yeah.
It'd be nice for him, even if this is, you know, the only chance that he gets. You know, he's doing a great job at the moment, 6.5 seconds clear. It'd be nice to go into MX1 as a Grand Prix winner.
Yeah, absolutely, and by all accounts, you know, the factory teams are pretty much settled now, so it's a case of everyone looking around trying to see what else is the best kind of package and you know, contract and situation for them. So I mean, Ferris could do absolutely nothing more than go like 1-1 here and take his first GP win. I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement that he is, you know, not only one of the better riders in this category, but you know, probably one of the better investments for MX1. And he says he prefers riding the 450, so you know, it'd be a wise move for somebody, I think.
We mentioned teams there as we look at Alessandro Lupino down in 12th place, obviously the CLS Kawasaki rider. Dylan Ferrandis is going to be joining that setup. Arnold Tonis back next week at Natalie Basin. I'm guessing he wouldn't come back unless he was close to 100%, or maybe the team have applied pressure and said maybe you ought to think about coming back. I don't know. What's the situation there? Do we know?
The last time I spoke to Arno, he was going to start riding at the end of July, so you know, maybe he's get to a point where he thinks, you know, I can get some race time here. Maybe just a little bit of a view towards the big puddle.
Pino didn't need that.
Just going through for the Motocross of Nations for Team Switzerland. Maybe that's something, you know, something on his mind.
And hopefully a better result than what he had in Lommel last year, when obviously the original injury he picked up became the problem for this year. Well, Dean Ferris continues to lead the race. He's almost 7 seconds. We're going down the pit lane to talk to the crew.
I'm down in the pit lane with Ben, the chief mechanic at Steve Dixon's Monster Energy Yamaha. Ben, you're looking on very nervously. How much would it mean for the team and Dean if he brings this home in first?
Yeah, it'd be a really big boost for the team. I mean, after Czech Republic, Dean didn't have such a good weekend, and he went away and sort of regrouped and worked really hard with his training bike mechanic, and yeah, it seems he's paid off. He's put 2 solid weeks in, and we've been doing everything we can to improve the bike and getting it better and better every week. So yeah, I think it'd be a huge lift for the team, and obviously it'd be awesome for Dean as well to pull it off.
Thanks, Ben. Good luck.
So Dean Ferris then looking good here with 11.5 minutes to go, but still a long time because you had those 2 laps at the end. It's more like 14-15 minutes to go. So Dean Ferris then has a comfortable advantage at the moment, 7.4 seconds. Adam Wheeler, you know, it's like you say, good start. He's put himself in the driving seat, and look at the gap that he's built up. Glenn Coldemoff, another rider that has been struggling on confidence in the last few races, or just luck maybe, whatever it is. He's put himself back there in a podium race finishing position, and this will be good for him because obviously we've got Matthew next week. Not sure how he'll do there, but Lierop at the end of or the beginning of September, he'll be looking to get on the podium at least there, because I think he's going to be one of the favourites there outside of Hurlings, if Hurlings is back, of course.
That's right, the world champion having an MRI scan this week, so we'll know exactly the damage on his shoulder. So it's looking doubtful for Matthew. The condition he was in yesterday it wasn't good, so if he's only got a couple of days to recover for Great Britain, then it's unlikely. But for Lierop, he's got another 2 weeks. If not, even if he's not properly fit, then the Dutch can at least rely on this kid who's been a bit of a slow burner in GPs.
And I don't think if he wasn't 100% fit and doubted that he couldn't win the GP in Lierop, I think he'd sit that one out as well, because the fastest man in sand not winning in the deep sand of Lierop that we've become accustomed to, I don't think he'd take that chance, do you?
Yeah, and also he's got high standards, you know. He lapped up to 2nd and 3rd position in both motos last year, so, you know, Hurlings doesn't only have to win in the sand, he's got to put on a bit of a show, like I say. Febvre still tight with Jose Butron.
Yeah. Still chasing Boutron down, still got Taos flapping in the wind. Just got his head down though and getting on with the job in hand. Rumoured to be, well, he is signed for Jackie Martins again next year, the team rather than the bike. So obviously going to be a factory Husqvarna rider next year in MX2, Romain Febvre. And again, he would just love to get a couple of results under his belt. before the end of the season, just to boost his own confidence going into next year. Dean Ferris continues to lead. We're looking at Alexander Tonkov in red, number 59. He's in 10th place, but he's got Jason Clement on the black Kawasaki just behind him, the 817, but Rockstar Racing Kawasaki. That shot there just illustrates how treacherous the circuit is. A lot of crowning rock now as Ivo Monticelli comes in on the Ritchie Racing TM. Parking that bike up, moto number 2. But Adam Wheeler, if it does rain now, it could turn this track into a bit of a skating rink, because you see a lot of the hard slick surfaces starting to light up a little bit. The track's dried out from the water that was put down at the start of the moto, but these guys have got to keep their focus now, haven't they? Lupino looking like he's coming under pressure from Clement.
Yeah, Clement on the Kawasaki. Yeah, there's certain sections here, Paul, if it did sort of plummet with rain, then it could change things around a little bit, but
in fact Lupino's just passed him actually.
So Lupino's moved up to 12th place then.
Petrov on the charge. He had this conversation with his team boss Hans Corvus at Maggiore as he goes past Clement. If he gets a good start, he could be dangerous, couldn't he, Petr Petrov? He's got good speed. He's shown good speed this year, but his reaction or whatever it is, the bike not picking up the start, just leaving himself too much work to do and having to close it down in the closing stages of the race.
He's a big guy as well, I mean, I think he rode the 450 quite well in the Belgian Championship last week, so perhaps physically more suited to the MX1 bike, but he's still got some years left. I think he's only 20 years old, so
yeah, he's young.
He's still young. He's still got a lot to learn.
Nice little battle going on here. Max Anstey just off the back there, 14th place on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki. Had that big crash at Lockett at the top of the hill, just on the entry to pit lane there when he caught the rear wheel of Elliot Max Brown, who's down in 18th in this first race on the HM Plant KTM. I was talking to Thomas Ramsbacher yesterday, and he said that he didn't have stitches, but if he fell on it again, he'd probably need a skin graft because he's taken that much skin off the elbow.
Yeah, he missed the races because he had to go and get it cleaned up in the hospital, but it's been a little bit of a frustrating season for Max. It's started quite promisingly in Qatar and Thailand, but he just hasn't been able to get out of the gate, and if you can't do that in this category, then you're not even going to be chasing the top 5.
Just looking out the window, a few splashes of rain starting to come in again, so might be okay for MX2, but it will be interesting for MX1 if it continues to fall. But Lupino looking to find a way past Tonkov now. That'll put him up into 10th place. So Lupino, another rider, needs a good start just to get those podium finishes back, because we know he's capable of it. Here he is at the inside. Not going to go through though, is he? Through. No,
doesn't have the inside.
Making him work around the outside and up the inside, but he tries to drop it around. Very, very tight through there, and he was always going to get squeezed by the Honda. But Tonkov has had some decent rides this year. Like I say, just a little bit injured at the beginning of the season. Has found his place in the paddock as Lupino goes through up the inside now. Tonkov looking to burst down the inside again. Lupino goes through though in 10th place, just behind Dupre, a couple of seconds, something like that. But getting dark out on track, Adam Wheeler. Ferris looking good, 5.6 seconds out of that gap. But I'm just wondering whether he's knocking it off. Some people talk about that, if you knock it off because you just want to bring it home, sometimes the concentration levels drop because you're not processing the information at the kind of speed that you need to be, for that gap to come down from 7.5 to 5.6 over the last few laps and matching lap times of Glenn Coldner, maybe he just thinks, as long as you keep an eye on the situation rather than backing up too much, it might be okay.
Yeah, manage the gap. I mean, it's 5.5 seconds. Is that a race winning margin? There's still quite a few races to get, a few laps to go. I think it's like 5 or 6 laps we still have to.
Yeah, it's almost a 2-minute lap here. One of the longest laps we've had this year, actually.
I don't know if we can cut to the camera. I was just about to say, here we go. Boutron and Febvre still very close together. Only 1 second splitting these two. So again, this might be the overall battle for the last place on the podium.
See the rain coming in from the left there. So Romain Febvre, who we saw with tear-offs flapping in the wind for the last few laps, and still off the side of the helmet. I wonder how this is going to play havoc with his visibility or not. So close to Boutron, so he's got the roofs from there. Then the rain and the dust sticking to the lens, and then the mud potentially. See, look, there we go.
He's trying to find something there, isn't he?
But that's just given breathing space to Jose Boutron. And
February, just needs 1 point. I mean, you've got like
it's very close, isn't it?
Koldenhoff, is on the last place on the podium, but you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders split by only 2 points. So things could really change up in the last couple of laps if just 1 or 2 position switches.
Getting ready to pick up action here. There's Tixier going through over the finish line. Here's Glenn Koldenhoff dropping down into turn 2. Still there on that standing construct KTM. Rumored to be changing colours next year, those guys.
Yep.
No official announcement just yet, although we did speak to Tim Mathers ourselves, and he's openly said on our MX Live program that they're going to be going yellow next year,
as well.
and with Koldenhoff and Lieber.
And I think Tixier just set his best lap of the race. 4 seconds quicker than February in 4th, and Tixier's now 5th, passing Jake Nichols. That'll probably consolidate his podium a little bit more, an extra point for him.
But Jake's done good to keep Tixier in his sights here. He's been there just knocking on the door. Tixier, what was his, Nichols, what was his lap? 56, wow, 56.5.
Where did he finish in the first motor check? Because he had a crash, didn't he?
Yeah, he was down in 11th.
Yeah, he was up and fighting for top 5, top 6 at one point, so yeah, probably like a top 6 finish overall for Jake ahead of the home Grand Prix.
Yeah, he was running 7th, wasn't he, before he went down? And that was just coming out of the first turn. But the rain just starting to come down now, and Charlier just taking a nervous look over his shoulder. He's got Ferrandis just there in 8th, just behind him.
I'd just be interested to speak with Charlie afterwards. I mean, I wonder if he was looking at his bike a couple of times, maybe a little bit of rear brake trouble. Like you say, it's possible, Paul, with all the rocks around, you were bringing that point up earlier. And the rain, looked like it was falling earlier, but it seems to have eased off again.
Yeah, I'm just wondering as well. I mean, they run Pirelli tyres, don't they? They run a Sandcross, probably run Moose as well. But sometimes in rocky conditions as well, you feel that, ooh, have I got a puncture? But with that kind of combination that he's got, you shouldn't have that feeling. So I just wonder whether the back end was breaking away, or we saw the problems with Moose's last year, of course, with Tommy and Hurling. So I wonder if it's something like that, perhaps. It was roll-offs then that was the problem for the 461 of Romain Fevre. He's had a good pull on those things and just broke the strip just to be able to wipe the lens with his thumb with the rain that's coming down, just to try and increase that visibility between him and Jose Boutron. So Boutron now starting to feel the pressure once again. It looked like a couple of laps ago when that rain started to come down, Adam Wheeler, that Boutron might just be able to escape the clutches of the Frenchman Romain Fevre, last year's European champion, or from 2 years ago. But Febre's right back there, right back in the hunt with a minute and a half to go, plus 2 laps, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does put in a last-minute surge here and find himself on the podium. And as we've been discussing throughout the race, could change the shape of the podium, could put the Frenchman on.
Yeah, and just the diversity of what the riders are finding on the surfaces here. Some of those corners flat with no berms, others with big ruts and some holes. You need to see where you're going, otherwise you're going to be over the bars. So it's
high speed as well, this track.
Absolutely. I mean, that was another comment yesterday from the guys. It was real, heavy on the throttle stuff. So it's very different to how it was last year.
Very wide as well, which means you can keep that speed up. We've seen a lot of tracks this year, haven't we, as we have on the calendar over the last few years, where there are a lot of one-post turns, guys coming in, queuing up. The scope is massive on this Bastogne circuit. The guys have done a good job with the layout in terms of opening it up, making sure that it's not really one line. If it wasn't rutty, you have the potential to square people off, sweep in like Dodika was doing so well in MX1 Race 1 in the qualifying yesterday and also the race today. But, it's one of those tracks that you can't say, it is definitely one line because of braking bumps on the race line and how it switches itself up. You add the rain in and a little bit water, obviously it can change the scope again.
I think it's just putting emphasis on risk, really. There are different lines, but you're going to have to, just take a little bit of a... is that Tonkov passing Desprez? Here we go in the last couple of minutes of the race, Paul. He's just suffering a little bit, the French youngster. Max Anstey also about to size him up, it looks like.
Going back after him though, Desprez, so he's up the inside of Tonkov.
Someone make...
Petrov.
Yep.
Gets it completely wrong, so Petrov went through in 10th position, and he had a crash in moto number 1 as well, didn't he? Coming out of turn, I think it's the long left, turn 5, after the step down.
Must have that on board.
We will have that on board. Our man Caselli will make sure we've got that on board.
That's a pretty fast place to crash as well. The landing off the finish jump, coming into that little wave going by the pits. Is this going to be it?
Comes over the finish line jump.
Has a look across.
Wonder if the back, completely wrong, got off line and then caught the tough block and then just got it completely wrong.
Almost trying to save it for a moment, but
hard landing. So Petrov then out of 10th, and more than a handful of guys went past him, but it doesn't matter, he's not 10th and he's going to lose a lot of points. But look at Tixier.
Yeah, Gogolus, like you're saying, Paul, this is it's going to be tricky for him coming out 20 back markers. Keep an eye on Nichols just behind in 45. He's going to have a typically determined last charge here at the factory KTM.
Yeah, nice line round there for Tixier, up on the pegs, like you say, probably the Van Horbink line from MX1 Race 1, around the actual artificial line that was, I guess, created yesterday when they took out all those ruts and bumps. You know, they only had a limited amount of time to do it because of the stat schedule that we've got here. And as a result, that line stayed, and that's been the most important line. 2.6 now. That gap. Is it squeaky bum time for Dean Ferris with 2 to go? Coldenhoff, though, he will see that Ferris, the Australian, is coming towards him, and Ferris could go from, he could still win the GP with the first and a second. Coldenhoff, though, could be on the verge of taking a potential first race win for standing construct.
Yeah, shortly after a first career podium, so
and he was spent in Germany when he got that podium, wasn't he?
Yeah, helped to the podium indeed. But Dean Ferris, had a 7-second lead at one point. Like you say, Paul, I think he's just like realising what he's close to and backing it right off. But like you say, to try and pick it up again, in the last phase of this race is going to be, quite an ask. So you can't afford to just, start celebrating at the moment. Still got a couple of minutes left in this moto. And Jake Nichols is just having a look around as well. Has he got enough left to try and challenge Tixier? He's not really close enough, is he?
Not close enough with just over a lap to go.
Charlier down in 7th place, Boutron in 3rd, so that's a reversal from the first moto, so they're going to stay with the same championship points as when they came into this race. And 2 rounds to go still in this World Championship. Elliot
Banks-Brown in 17th. Just Nathan Watson actually riding MX2 this weekend. Did he go out in the second race? Yep, just on the edge of the points look, 21st, obviously in for the injured James Dunn, who had a big crash at Hawkstone Park at the British Championship in practice last week. Done an ankle, a couple of heels, some ribs, knocked a tooth out as well.
It's been a tough season for him, isn't it, really?
Been a very, very tough season, so get well soon, James, if you're listening. But you see the rain coming down. I wonder if, again, Dean Ferris, the reason why he's backed off, just because of the conditions and maybe a little bit of visibility, just going outside here. So over the line to start the final lap, he's got about the distance of the tabletop between him and Coldenhoff. So the ground's just starting to slick up a little bit. The rain's starting to fall a little bit heavier.
Yeah. This is the heaviest the rain has come down so far this weekend. So, like you were saying earlier, if it's going to factor in this race, it's going to be now.
He will know that Coldenhoff is there, but this is going to be a big moment for both these guys because Dean Ferris just needs to complete the lap now to win the Grand Prix.
Yeah, no risk. Doesn't need to fight for it. Just let him go. If Coldenhoff's really going to charge through, then as long as there's no contact, then Ferris is going to be okay.
Chasing the dirt. This is where it gets really tricky now for the riders. Hard, slick ground, like we've said, crowning rock.
But on the other hand, Paul, if it had happened like 3 or 4 laps earlier, then it could have been a lot worse for the Australian. But like you say, he's like just over half a lap away from.
Takes a look over his shoulder, sees there's Coldenhoff. He knows he's just got to keep it ahead of the Dutchman, and he goes wide, chasing the dirt. Like I said, look, he's just playing it safe. But is it too safe? This next corner is horrible. Look at the landing there, all shining up now. The track would have changed even from the last lap, Adam.
Yeah, and Coldenhoff realising that even though Herlin's not here, there's no reason why there can't still be a Dutch race winner in Grand Prix racing. It's just that little front tuck on that corner earlier with Ferris.
Is Coldenhoff on the podium if he...
Yeah, third place overall.
He'd love to do that with a race win, wouldn't he? But Dean Ferris, though, coming out of turn 12.
2 corners left. I think it's just keep it up, and he's got it.
And it's always nice to win a Grand Prix, but to win it with a double race win as well. And I'm sure Dean Ferris is probably thinking about that, but he knows he's got, as he laps Nathan Watson there, who pulls out, so that was 21st place. But out of the final corner, Dean Ferris, a slight mistake, a slight bobble, but Dean Ferris is going to win the Belgian Grand Prix, and he does it with a perfect score. Look how slick he was on the landing as well. And he's celebrating. He becomes the first Australian to win since Andrew McFarlane, and a big day for him. And
Italy 2005.
Yeah.
I think McFarlane even won that day, didn't he?
Yeah. Here we go.
Dean Ferris, you've just won your first ever Grand Prix. How does that feel? Like that, I guess. Well, they're very happy for you.
It feels amazing. Just so much hard work, and I just want to thank my mum and my coach John at home for watching me. They're responsible for getting me here, and this is what I've been dreaming of since I was young or a teenager. So thank you to them and all the team, Monster Energy, Yamaha, Bike at Cosworth. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and go and enjoy that podium.
Big moment in the career of Dean Ferris. A career first MX2 Grand Prix win here at the Belgian Grand Prix at Bastogne. He does it with a perfect score as well. 2 wins out of 2. He celebrates with Golden Tyre, of course. Their team sponsor, his manager there, Glenn Dempsey, and well, he can go to MX1 now, no matter what happens as a Grand Prix winner in MX2. He's got the British Grand Prix in a week's time at his team boss Steve Dixon's circuit at Matchley Basin. Even Nicky Scott getting in on the action as well, the former Women's Motocross World Championship racer. But it was a tense moment. He only won it by 1.7 in the end after backing off. But he won't care about that because he comes home with a perfect score here in Belgium. Big moment. Look how slick it was on the landing though. Look at that. And in terms of the race, Ferris, Coldenhoff, Boutron.
Il va changer, c'est normal. Doping control. Doping control però. Io l'ho fatto in Italia e in Italia.
Well, so Dean Ferris then
in orde houden, perfect gesproeid.
wins the overall Grand Prix, but the race also belongs to Ferris.
Ja, dit is echt een leuke baan om op te rijden en wij hopen natuurlijk dat we nog vaak hier naar Bastogne mogen.
From Coldenhoff, Boutron, Fevre, Tixier, Nichols, Charlier and Ferrandis. Ninth was Jason Clermont, Max Anstey was 10th. Overall, sorry, yeah, Lupino, Tonkov, Dupre, Clermont, Anstey 13th, Rauschnecker, Stewart. Banks Brown was 17th, so a couple more point scoring rides for him. Harry Koulas picking himself up off the deck. Turn 1 gets 18th. Kevin Fors, Damon Growlers, a point scorer. No points this time for Stephen Lenoir. The overall podium, Dean Ferris on 50, Jordi Tixier 38. Glenn Coldenhoff 35, and then it was 34 for Boutron, Fevre and Charlier. So 3 guys tying on points. See the overall results now. Look. But Dean Ferris, a great Grand Prix victory for him this weekend in Belgium. Perfect score as well, 50 points. Look, and Tixier and Coldenhoff rounding out the podium. Fevre found a way past Tixier in the end on that final lap in the moto.
Thank you.
Championship. No change, but obviously Ferris takes 50 points and closes to win 3 of Glenn Coldenhoff now as he knocks on the door for a top 5 in this year's championship campaign. Tonkov moves up a position to 12 after pushing down Mel Pocock. And Jason Clermont and Tim Geiser both gained positions this weekend. In a moment we will go visit the podium. It's raining out there. You've got to feel sorry for the Monster Energy girls, haven't you? But Jordi Tixier without goggles Managed to finish second overall, but his points would have added to KTM's already impressive tally. Yamaha second, and Kawasaki, Suzuki, Honda, TM and Husqvarna down there with a point. Podium time then, third overall, and his second visit to the podium this year, the 259, standing construct KTM, the Dutchman, Glenn Coldenhoff, picking up 35 points this weekend. Jordi Tixier, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, he'll have sore eyes, I'm sure, can barely see, look. Had a long time to ride without goggles, but your overall winner, 111. Monster Energy Yamaha, the Australian, perfect score. 2 wins out of 2, Dean Ferris, then Popplewell to the right, picking up the manufacturer's win. No Steve Dixon here this weekend, he's busy at the Grand Prix of Matchley Basin next week. Philippe Collignon handing the third place trophy, looks like a little dumbbell, to Glenn Coldenhoff, second overall from Starmeal, Lieven van Lommel. They've stacked out the media centre with a fridge full of glorious food over there, keeping the media guys happy. Jos Driessen, the Belgian president, the FMB, equivalent of the ACU, hands Dean Ferris his winner's trophy, his first career victory in MX2. And Mario Bowens, Iveco, Belgium, Gregor delivers the winner's trophy to Ben Popplewell, and Monster Energy Yamaha, Steve Dixon, of course Cosworth. The engines in that bike, tuned by, no Jeffrey Hurlings to collect the red plate, but Stefan Everts picked up his fair share of red plates, obviously will be on hand for KTM. Of course it's the gold plate, as he is now world champion. But yeah, Cosworth, the engine tuners for that Monster Energy Yamaha of Dean Ferris, and they'll be there with their own presence at the British Grand Prix at Matchley Basin in a week's time. National anthem for Australia, Dean Ferris. I don't think that's the Australian national anthem, actually. Dean Ferris wins the Belgian Grand Prix. He gets busy with a fizzy. Douses Jordi Tixier and Glenn Coldenhoff. But it's a Monster Energy Yamaha victory for the Australian, a perfect score here in Belgium at Bastogne. And here's how he did it in Moto number 2. It was a good jump for Alex Tonkov from the middle of the gate, but at the inside, Dean Ferris had Boutron on the outside of him, but it was Coldenhoff who initially grabbed the whole shot, soon gave way to Ferris, the Australian, who then went on to pick up a 7.5 second advantage at one point in the race. Charlier was in there challenging, but so too was the 461 of Romain Febvre. And as the race went on, those two duked it out a little bit, but no chance to show you the rest of that highlight for whatever reason. But in the end, it was a win for Dean Ferris. Glenn Coldenhoff for second. Boutron got himself into third. Can bring you the highlights now. So as the work goes on the start straight in preparation for MX1 race 2. Let's have a look again at what happened MX2 race 2. Ferris was down the inside. Coldenhoff around the outside. There was a crash at the back that took out a few guys, Mel Pocock and Harry Kulas, but Ferris got to the lead. Coldenhoff was in second, Charlier was in third at one point, but he was under pressure from the 461 of Romain Febvre. Looking a little bit nervous as well was Charlier. Boutron then came under attack from Febvre. Charlier lost the rear wheel. Jake Nichols was quick to react. And Jordi Tixier had to throw away the goggles as he charged through the pack. He eventually came home in 5th position. Alexander Tonkov also made a mistake, but Lupino didn't start well, but he eventually came through to 9th on that number 300 Kawasaki. Found a way past Tonkov in the closing stage of the race to get into that 9th place. The Russian did try to react, but Lupino had it all under control, but the flag went out and it was a big win for Dean Ferris. Kodanov came home in 2nd. Here he is.
Dean, many congratulations. How did it feel to see that Australian flag on top of the podium?
Yeah, I'm so proud. It's been a long time since it's been up there in a Grand Prix, and it's actually the first event I've won. I haven't even won an Australian National, and now I've won a Grand Prix. So I mean, I can't even tell. Words can't even describe the feeling.
I'm sure it'll sink in sometime soon. Many congratulations.
Thank you.
Put your teeth back in, Dargan. But yeah, big win for him. He has led the Australian Championship, but as he said, never actually won a round. But to win here is big. He'll be looking forward to getting back onto UK soil next week. Looking to do it at Matchley Basin. Big flowing open circuit there, down there in Hampshire. Of course, it's the MX Festival down there as well. So can't say any more than we've already said here. 2 wins out of 2. First career victory for Dean Ferris. Took his first race win in Moto number 1. He backed it up with a fine win in Moto number 2 in what were interchangeable conditions and tricky conditions in the end. He brought it home to win his first ever Grand Prix. Glenn Koldenoff was 2nd in the race, but it was Jordi Tixier who came home 5th to take 2nd overall. Here he is, Red Bull KTM.
Jordi, I know that was an extremely difficult second race for you. You lost the goggles earlier on. How was it?
Was pretty difficult, you know. Was I think the most difficult race in my career. I got a bad start, and 5 minutes after the start I got big stones in my goggles, and I need to put off the goggles and ride without. But with the stones on this track was really difficult, and I take so much stones in my eyes. I have so much pain, I lose my victory, but hopefully next week it's my time, and I will give my best. So thank you very much to KTM Red Bull team, and they make a really great job for me, and good luck to Jeffrey, good recovery, and see you soon, I hope.
2nd overall for you this weekend, Jordi.
Yeah, you can see the red around the eyes there. It's not just the stones, but the dirt. And yeah, tough second race for Jordi Tixier. He would have been probably odds-on favourite for a potential first victory here this weekend, but as he said, hopefully next week he'll get his time. Wasn't to be this weekend. Well, 3rd overall was Glenn Koldenoff, the standing construct KTM rider of the Netherlands. Came close to winning that last race as he closed right in on Dean Ferris in the end. Hopefully he's down there. Hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to Glenn Koldenoff, who picks up his 2nd podium in 2013, the first of which came with a 3rd overall in Germany. It's a 3rd overall here in Belgium, 2 races later.
Glenn, 2nd in that Moto number 2, 3rd overall this weekend. So close to a race win. How do you feel about how it's gone today?
It's been actually quite good, you know. First moto I was struggling a lot, and I finally take a whole shot again. Ferris get by pretty quickly in the moto, but he take one gap, and I fight back, and I was pretty close on the end, but I couldn't take him anymore. But still happy with my 3rd overall, 2nd podium of the season, and it's been good.
Well done, Glenn. We'll see you next week in Matterley.
Yeah, good recovery from 8th in Moto number 1 to get 2nd in Moto 2 was enough to get him on the podium. But Dean Ferris has closed in to within 3 points now of Koldenoff, who sits 5th in the championship on that standing construct KTM. But he'll be pleased that it's a 2nd podium this year. The first one was a long time coming. He didn't have to wait so long for the 2nd one. But Tim Matheson, the team down there, obviously doing a good job getting those bikes dialed in pretty good. And well, the rest was down to this guy. Battled the conditions, brought it home, 22 points. Good day for the Dutch rider. Well, it's been a busy weekend here at Podium in Belgium. We've had the 150 CRF European Championship. We've had 125 European Championship action. We've just seen the conclusion of MX2 that culminates in a win for Dean Ferris of Australia and Monster Energy Yamaha. We saw the first race of MX1. Tony Cairoli and Pramana Sao doing battle around this circuit here in Bastogne in the Ardennes. And they're down in the waiting zone getting ready for their second race. So we'll be back soon in about a minute or so's time to give you the conclusion of MX1 Race 2.